Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games.
How's it going, boys?
Yo.
How's it going? So, as by the title of this, you can tell we are talking more Acolyte. Today we're going to talk about episodes 5 and a little bit of episode 6, and then we'll do another video that'll come out shortly after. That's our end thoughts of episode 6 and episode 7, getting us all geared up for the final episode, which happens this week.
Yes.
Take that. We're gonna do our own cutting of the splicing of the episode in a different spot than the episode's cut and spliced episode.
Damn
I'm
straight.
I'm not gonna. I'm not doing any of the cutting and splicing. That's all on you. I just talk this way, and
Things happen.
sometimes I'm funny. So yeah, what did we think of episode 5, boys?
Makes sense where they cut it.
Yes.
To be honest.
For once.
I remember watching it and flipping out when the first guy hits the stranger in the head and Elena going, "What?"
Yeah, I had a feeling that would speak to you specifically.
Oh yeah.
I have a few friends that I was like, oh, I need to text a few people. Like I texted Gordon immediately. I was like, what did you think of episode 5? Yeah, I wasn't expecting cortosis.
Yeah.
No,
If
I
you
don't
would-
think.
If I'd set up a bingo card for this show, cortosis would not have been on.
No.
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 Was not expecting cortosis, was super pleased to see it.
I love the way they used it too.
Yeah.
And this speaks to my general feelings about the episode, but like I love the way that they used the cortosis. Like, yeah, he blocked it with the bracer, but then he was going around headbutting people's lightsabers.
Yeah. Which is brilliant because you don't expect that.
Right. No, in no way, if I'm fighting with a sword or sword-like object, in no way am I expecting my opponent to headbutt me in the sword. Like, he's not headbutting the opponent, he's headbutting the weapon, and it's effective. And it's like it makes perfect sense. Well, maybe not perfect sense, but it makes enough sense as a tactic and speaks to something Jord said about him, how he like doesn't follow the traditional rules of combat. It's like, yeah, he's going around headbutting swords. The man's a psychopath.
Yeah.
But that was great. That was one of those moments where I went, "Oh, this is gonna be a good like." I knew it was a good episode by that point, but I was like, "Oh, I like this."
Yeah. Yeah,
give me that dopamine.
As soon as the title card went, I was like, "What? That's all in the spiker for this episode? Oh, this is gonna be good."
Yeah.
And I loved how they actually used the Force in combat more than just I push you away.
Oh yeah, like when he pulled he stabbed through 2 people and then used the Force to pull a third. Like this man was getting greedy at the cookout. Like stab, one more. Oh, I will say, and I am confident in saying this. I will die on this hill. Episode 5 was the whole episode was a fight. I won't break it down to individual fights. The whole episode was a fight, and it was the single best fight we've gotten in the franchise. Full stop. You cannot convince me otherwise.
I would have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, they did such a good job with it. The choreography, the cuts. Because like for example, there's no denying that Anakin versus Obi-Wan is a fantastic fight. But it kept getting interrupted with not a bad fight, but just nothing that it didn't jive well. They interrupted with like throwing the Senate at him. So this was cut in a way that even when it went to something that was unrelated, which was the attempt of an arrest, it worked really well.
And like the comparison you've just made with Anakin and Obi-Wan, Anakin and Obi-Wan was never my favorite. It's a good fight, but it's got too much of the prequel flipping the sword, flipping the lightsabers around, all the fancy like none of that's you're not even attacking each other. You're just spinning your swords at each other. Come on. For me, up until this point, I would say the throne bearer, the king, was probably Duel of the Fates.
That's a great one.
Because Duel of the Fates has a lot of the fancy sort of wushu bullshit going on, while still being like, okay, I can see that they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel that was cut better than the episode
Yes.
3 fight, because that was part of my example, was that episode 3 fight was a good fight. I really appreciate the Anakin fight with Obi-Wan because that's them. It wasn't Stubbles,
Sure.
which is fantastic. And I also appreciate Duel of the Fates because Ray Park and Ewan McGregor were too fast for film. They had to slow themselves down.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. And Duel of the Fates was more the focal point. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, no, like Anakin and Obi-Wan, a lot of the sell point is it knowing it's the actors and not stunt dudes doing it.
Right.
Which I will always be like, mad respect. But like,
absolutely.
But this fight, what I like about this fight is we saw the Jedi way versus the who is this way? Like it was because let's face it, like one of the big things about, even with I love Duel of the Fates, one of the big things about it is like there's Jedi training versus red lightsaber Jedi training. Like you can clearly tell that he might be a fallen apprentice or whatever, it doesn't matter. He's developed the whole style apart from like form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know what I mean?
Right. He doesn't follow the rules of combat, as George said. And that is very clear in the choreography on both sides. You have the Jedi who, one of the things I do like about the episode is that you can see the sort of seeds or the roots of what the style in the prequels was.
Yes.
Like there is some fancy lightsaber work. Like Jecki in particular does like a couple of really good twirls. But it's not all twirling. There is like actual, like, I don't want to say like HEMA combat, but like it looks like more realistic combat to an extent.
It was definitely get the job done style combat.
So you have the Jedi with a mix of get the job done and the wushu nonsense that happens in the prequels, and then you have fucking Chimere, which I've been saying that wrong this whole time. It's not Chimere, it's Chimere apparently. You have Chimere with just a completely different approach that undermines everything the Jedi know, because it's like if you fight someone who has no idea how to fight and you're yourself not like super good at it, it's going to be harder than fighting somebody who does know, because you know what to expect from somebody who knows how to fight, whereas somebody who's like drunk or just like doesn't know what they're doing, it's like this guy's going to grab my nuts at some point, I'm sure.
That's very true. In fencing, I did fencing for a while, and I got pretty dang good at it. And part of the reason why I was pretty good, and people called me out on this, but in a good way, is like you have a very unpredictable style to when you do your move. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing. It's just that it's not like a official form or anything. Like it's unpredictable, where all of a sudden you're coming out of nowhere. You're coming out sideways like a spider monkey, right? Like you don't know what's going on. And that makes it very hard for somebody, even when you're both well trained, to go, well, that's not what the manual said. What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah, it's definitely something the Jedi were falling into. They're used to this is what the manual said, which is a thing with the High Republic too. Is that it certainly in the early books, and I imagine 100 years later, they haven't had an enemy that uses a lightsaber in centuries. So they're just not used to actual lightsaber combat outside of like their training. So it is very much, well, the rule book says this, so you and I, we're gonna come at each other like this, and then we're gonna go like that, and it's just gonna play out like a dance. And then you meet a guy who knows all that stuff, or at least knows some of it, presumably, and then goes, but I'm not gonna follow that dance because then I'm not gonna be able to kill you. and then you die.
Like it would have been, part of like the comedy version of this would be when he headbutts the first lightsaber. Somebody goes, "Hold on," pulls out the rule book. I don't. What?
Ref, can we get a yellow card over here?
That's one thing I really enjoyed about this is when the Jedi were fighting him, you could see how quickly disorganized they were, because they were like, okay, I'm gonna go here, wait, what, and like they weren't knowing what he was doing or where he was coming from, and they started getting disorganized to a point where, if you notice, a lot of the group fighting got so chaotic because they couldn't coordinate, because they had no clue what he was doing. It, like you said, it felt raw in a sense.
Well, I wonder that was a combination of the panic of, oh shit, this guy's dismantling us,
Mm.
as well as like clearly he was doing something to cloud them on an individual level. We don't know exactly what, but Yord did make a comment about how he gets in your head and it stays there.
Yeah.
But also like that forest seems to be a little fucky.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if like this was also they had an area disadvantage, you know, like a battleground disadvantage.
Yeah,
of, like,
we're
fighting somewhere
debuff.
that's right. Like we're fighting somewhere where we are inherently less effective than usual, whereas this guy doesn't have that problem.
Which is a fair point. That one apprentice, I forget a lot of the characters' names in this show, but the one apprentice who was doing fairly well, she was kind of tapping into those negative emotions that the Jedi aren't supposed to.
She had such a good role in that episode.
Jackie was great, and they casted her perfectly.
Oh, they did. And I also think with the whole group fighting, what it also kind of showed, which we don't typically see because we typically see like a 2-on-1 at best in Jedi combat.
Mm-hmm.
But what it also kind of showed is kind of the fact that, you know what's not really effective? A bunch of dudes with blades that can cut through anything trying to swing at one dude. It's like that doesn't work out actually as well as you might think in your head of surround and drown him. It doesn't work out. But also what I thought, one of the things, especially at the Jackie scene, which I won't bring up just yet, but when they focused on his lightsaber and his extra attachment, like, I immediately thought of, hey, we were talking about how lightsabers were kind of mad. This is actually like the first cool lightsaber we're seeing.
Honestly, that's one of the things that it was cool, but I wish it were cooler in that, like, yes, it's cool. He pulls the second little dagger out from underneath, and I was like, yes, I love that. I just wish the hilt was a little less
like
dog shit.
The hilt,
right.
The hilt still was. I was sitting there going, his lightsaber's kind of lame. But then when he pulled out the little pommel sword, I was like, it got a little cooler.
And he just fucking like Liam Neeson from Taken, just bam, bam, bam in her chest. Oh God! Like, can we just talk about how Jackie died so bad? And like, he didn't need to go for the extra 2 shots. He had her, and then he was just like, just to be sure.
Yeah, no,
he triple tapped. Like, come on, man.
I mean, I applaud the triple tap as a concept because it's like, why assume when I can be for sure?
Be thorough, yes, be thorough, very much.
Well, if we were the more toxic Star Wars fan, you need the 2 extra shots because 1 shot isn't enough.
But like, I just don't. What I liked about this episode is the fact that I was like, we had a bunch of red shirts for the away team, and everybody died. Not just the red shirts for the away team.
So many people died that I was not expecting to die.
Yeah, the fact that we lost Yord and Jackie. I was like, okay, Yord got his neck broken, which is like, that was another great moment of like, okay, he died without even a lightsaber being involved. He got killed with his neck. And then like Jackie was going, and I was like, okay, Jackie might have this. Jackie might be able to like survive this. And then nope, Jackie's fucked. I was like, I was not expecting both of them. I thought one of them would walk away.
Yord, I thought, and unfortunate because like I actually liked Yord in this episode. I was
warming up to him.
He was doing well, and Jackie was amazing. They cast it so well. Jackie had such a good role, and all I gotta say is, I stand by this 120%. Soul's my Jedi. I don't care about anything else. He was amazing, and his hand-to-hand combat. People like to say, "Oh, he was being let win." No, he legitimately kicked the crap out of him.
The fact that they brought hand-to-hand in was. I loved that because it's like, why? That's how a lot of fights will end up. Like, you know, maybe not a lot. I'm no expert historically or even
right.
But it just feels like a natural progression of like when you're using weapons that can so easily be disarmed because the balance on a lightsaber's got to be fucky. Of course, you're gonna start punching each other, and they did a great job with that choreography too.
It also highlights the fact that the Jedi are not Kenshin from Rurouni Kenshin. They can fight without a sword. Like, they're dangerous as just a Jedi. Like, and what I like about it is because I still start saying, Kimir or whatever, let Saul beat him. I'm like, No, Kimura was definitely playing the Soul, and then Soul tapped in and beat the crap out of him and would have killed him. Like I don't.
Yeah.
This is I get annoyed at the whole. He knew it was going to happen, so he let it happen. Maybe in the beginning, until Soul did the screaming punch combo that knocked him like flat almost.
Chimera had to get tricky to get out of it.
Yeah.
Like, and then they had to get tricky to get rid of him. The moth thing was a little silly, but at the same time, I dig it.
Yeah,
It's no sillier than the Ewoks.
Right.
It was one of those things where I knew the moths had to come back because in episode 4 I was like, they can't be here just for this.
Chekhov's moth.
We're gonna go back to that. I did say after we lost the 2, I have started having doubts that Soul was going to survive this episode. I was legit going, wait, are they just going to kill everybody?
I think that was part of why they killed both Yord and Jeki.
Yeah.
By killing both of them, it did call into question, like, okay, is Soul toast?
Yeah.
Like, is Osha gonna die? Like,
what's important?
All bets are off at this point.
Yes. What's important is that Basil made it.
Yes. Basil the goat. He's the goat. My favorite.
But like, no, it really, I mean, they better not kill Saul. Like, I don't think they will because of his importance to this plot. But at the same time, it could all be important in the same way that, I just want to call it Trinity, is to the plot. Flashbacks at best. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so just like, don't you kill off one of the best Jedi to ever grace the screen. Like,
Soul is great. And like, I want to talk about Soul more when we get to like, episode 6 and 7, because like there's a lot of nuance with his character that I'm really interested in.
Oh yeah.
But Soul has definitely been a highlight of the show, especially as you can tell the actor has started to get more like comfortable with the character.
Yeah.
Which happens, like not in so many shows, like the first few episodes are the actors are still settling into their roles. It's impossible as an actor to go in every time and just be like, I'm perfectly comfortable with this role. Sometimes it takes a little time to get into it, especially with a TV show. It's longer form storytelling. They don't always have all the scripts right out the gate, so
and you don't have as much time for rehearsals and all that jazz, especially with how fast you have to pump out the episodes.
And he doesn't he speaks enough English to do the role, which he learned enough to do the role, but he's not even like conversational. With English. So it's like that's even another step of he's had to really get comfortable with interacting with the other actors when he's like not fully sure how to communicate with them outside of the acting part. So watching him get more comfortable and really mold into the character has been really cool. And Soul is definitely a highlight, and whatever they end up doing with Soul, as long as they don't just throw him off a cliff. I'm curious. I will watch his career with great interest.
Exactly. He has become one of my favorite Jedi depictions of Jedi. Like, I can see through Soul where the beginnings of what Qui-Gon trans believe comes from.
The best Jedi are the ones that are a little bit nuanced. Like Ki-Adi-Mundi sucks. Because Ki-Adi-Mundi he's a company man, he sucks. Even Yoda kind of sucks a little bit because there's not a lot of nuance there. He's Yoda, so you love him, but it's like, but he's
you love him for the mystery and how different he is from all the other Jedi.
But he's upper management. He's upper management.
But if you look at him as a character, he's not as
right, which is a fault of a sort of drawback of being this mysterious figure that he is. You can't really flesh him out like that. But then you look at Qui-Gon, you look at Mace Windu to a slightly lesser extent because he has less screen time, and you look at Soul, and it's like, okay, these are the ones that are not just I am a Jedi. It's I am a Jedi, but I also have other feelings and opinions and desires.
They're kind of like Jedi who have their hand on the pulse. They know what the outside world is like outside of just being the Jedi.
Yeah, they're the Jedi that realize being a Jedi isn't a race. It's a role you play, and that I am so much more than just this job title.
This is my job. Exactly. I'm at work. And I think that's one of the things that makes Obi-Wan such a compelling character for so many people is that he starts, like, you look at Phantom Menace and he is, I am a Padawan, I am a Jedi. And then even in Attack of the Clones, he's still like, I am a Jedi, I am a company man in that sense. And then by the end of episode 3, he starts to move a little bit away from the Order as being this infallible thing, and now like and just the further out you go, he becomes more and more nuanced, and that's one of the reasons Obi-Wan's so compelling. So that's the point. That's what I'm getting at. Just compelling Jedi are
compelling,
nuanced Jedi are compelling.
And
it's also why Ahsoka is so popular, because she just says screw the whole order.
Yeah, she has a similar arc to Obi-Wan, but perhaps a little bit more
extreme.
a little bit more explosive, as it were.
From the fan base hating to loving her. Like
I will admit, I was one of those when Ahsoka first came in. I was like, I don't like you. She's not my favorite, but near the end of Clone Wars, I was like, okay, I can understand why this character is so liked.
Yeah, she definitely grows on you. And can I say, so many people would like give the collective eye roll sigh when the S word came up with Sith, and I love the way they used it, because they used it in such a way that is like it tackled the whole quasi-religious nature of the Jedi without bringing it up as a debate. It's like, you might call me heretic or Sith, right? Like, and I also like that they called it out, the elephant in the room, before they let the fan base get too far-fetched and assume stuff. It's like, I have no name, but you could call me Sith. I don't care, because I'm here to kill you anyway.
It wasn't a fully affirmative I am Sith. It was, if you want to call me Sith, fucking go for it.
That's probably what you're gonna call me because of how I act.
And like, that could, for all we know, he could actually be Sith. We don't really know, because he didn't give a flat out direct answer like that. Personally, I'm thinking whatever, he's not Sith now. Maybe he was on the path to becoming Sith if his master is Sith, because I'm still convinced he's not the true master here. I'm still convinced there's another reveal that he was working for someone else, and that he's just the apprentice trying to get his own apprentice, as it were, or more of a Darth Maul figure where he's already been discarded and now he's trying to gather some kind of acolyte. My theory is that he's absolutely tied into the Knights of Ren in some way. He might be Ren himself, or he might be a forebear of Ren, because they, like in episode 7, at the end of it, when he finds Osha, what's the music that plays when he puts his hand on her? Ba, 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 ba. They use the Kylo Ren leitmotif, and they use that a lot with him. And it's I think it's even been confirmed by the showrunner that is intentional. And so like the helmet design too, like he's got
the helmet, the gauntlets, and everything. A lot of him screams Ren.
He's got, like, maybe he was gonna be Darth Ren, or maybe he's just gonna start calling himself Ren. Maybe his real name is Ren, and Kymir's not a real name, or maybe he's just whoever inspires. We don't, we can't possibly say for sure, but that's my theory.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say with all that, like, I love the Sith thing. It didn't bother me, because of course you're gonna, when it comes to the Jedi, you're either a Jedi, a witch, or a Sith. Like, let's be real. Like, that's how they are. So, like, of course he's gonna do that. But the one thing that I did find kind of annoying, a little bit, it didn't take away from the episode at all. But if I was Saul, I would have been like, really, Osha? After everything you just saw, you're gonna ask why he said you shouldn't trust me? Did you see what he did? It's just like, really? He says one sentence and now your whole faith is shattered in me. Really? It's just like,
to be fair to Soul, he did just watch a lot of his friends and colleagues die. And he was absolutely shell-shocked at the end of that episode. To the extent that he couldn't tell the difference between May and Osha.
Oh yeah, that was fine. I'm not saying he knew the difference right away, but when Osha goes to him, Saul, why did he say I couldn't trust you? I wanted Saul to be like, we're having this conversation after you just murdered my entire team? Really? We're gonna
Well, my point is, Soul wasn't at the top of his game at that point.
No.
So it's like, having that reaction just probably wasn't gonna happen, because he was probably too busy going, I have to tell York's family.
He was more concerned with the fact that it was just him and Osha left, and he wanted to keep at least that.
Right, but it's just the fact that, like, even for in the sake of like Osha's side, like this, the writing up, it's like, you just witnessed an entire Jedi team get massacred, and then the dude who did it said, "Don't trust the only remaining Jedi. You can trust me, though." Really? It's just like,
I think that might have been speaking to Osha already being distrustful of the Jedi. I think that's probably what they were getting at.
He's probably playing off of that.
But I do see where you're coming from, that like, and this is a thing that happens in a lot of shows and movies, where it's like a character will be focused on the wrong thing in the wrong moment. But like, I do think there is a little bit of truth to life there, because I've I've been in situations where it's like something horrible is happening or something important is happening, and the guy next to me is like, "Well, they didn't put cheese on my burger." Like, just like, my man, the building's on fire. There, who gives a shit about your cheese? Like that is a thing that happens in life. So
I'm 100%.
I can't strike it too hard.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. It's just one of those things where I'm like, it just seems like it comes up so much in these type of shows and situations, whereas it's like,
it is certainly
okay, here's the trope. Here's the I have a bad feeling about this style of trope, but in a way that kind of go, eh. That was the only thing, but like I said, it didn't take away from the episode at all.
That's fair.
I did appreciate how in the episode, and it was kind of funny while we were watching, and he sits there, he goes, "All I want is I don't want to be a Jedi. I just want to be me and be free." And I turned to Elena and I went, "Holy crap, what we asked for, a Sith who doesn't want to rule the galaxy, he just wants to chill."
Yeah, I just want to be me. It's just, which is true. But I don't know, and maybe what was May's plan? Because I get it, right? Horrible thing happened. You just stunned them. You do look virtually identical, except for the marking that you just kept your hair shorter. And also, he can read minds.
It was. I don't know what her plan was either, but at the same time, I appreciate that her plan was bullshit. Like, May has shown herself time and again to be impulsive and doesn't think ahead. So I definitely kind of appreciate that she was like, if I cut my hair with this lightsaber in a way that resembles Osha's, he'll never know. Yeah. And it's like, well, at one point I was sitting there going, is nobody gonna be like, the fuck smells like burnt hair?
Yeah. And it's just like, also, you have a really obvious marking on your forehead. You don't have the tattoo,
you have
which didn't
face
come up.
Tattoo.
Yeah.
You literally have a face tattoo.
You don't have the arm tattoo, which he's clearly called out in an earlier episode with Osha.
Yeah, that's easier to hide.
Yeah, that's easier because she just wears the jacket.
I just mean, like, you have nothing, including the memories.
Yeah, it was never gonna last long.
And I totally buy that Saul in the beginning was totally, in distress of everything, and maybe didn't pick up on it, but I definitely feel like by the time he went, "Aren't you gonna go check it out?" He's like, "I know what's going on."
Oh yeah, I get the vibe in episode 6. I got the vibe that he knew so fast.
Yeah, he was
like, the moment he calmed down, he was like, "That's May."
Yeah, especially since he seems to be fairly good at telling them apart.
Yeah.
Well,
now
that in episode 7, we'll touch on that in episode 7, but I don't necessarily agree with that statement because of some shit that happened in 7.
It's true. Yeah.
But touching into the early parts of episode 6, I did appreciate how he was like, I do think he was playing a game of cat and mouse with her at first.
Yeah.
What I did
on your pip droid.
Right. You love that pip droid.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, I think he was trying to make her feel bad.
Yeah.
Because she just fucking wiped her sister's best friend to fat 30 settings with like happy music in the background. She was just like, yeah, fuck it. I don't care about this droid.
Yeah.
Just unceremoniously murdered her sister's best friend.
Yeah, pretty much. I love the Basil stuff. I'm like, did you really just cause a ship to power down? Did you?
And Basil's little kung fu shit.
I'm sitting there going, okay, yeah, she has no clue that she can hide from this guy because the dude clearly can tell them apart just by how they smell.
Yeah. The problem is the only person who could talk to Basil was Yord.
Dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yord was the only one who speaks Basil's language, so it was like Basil had no way of communicating this, but thankfully he didn't need to because Soul was like, you have a face tattoo, right?
No,
but like between the both of them, there's no way to hide from either. Basil could smell you, and even if Saul couldn't see anything, we've seen him read minds so many times.
Yeah. Right, like he's a Jedi, and he knows Osha very well.
Yeah,
like he and Osha was his Padawan. Clearly, they know each other very well. So like very quickly, he probably like picked up on their subtle mannerisms that aren't right. Like just.
Yep. No, there was very much like, because that was also, I think, an interesting thing. When they first did it, I was like, oh, they're going to play this up where she acts and no one knows. But no, you could tell right away. It was like, oh, no, she's not even trying to hide that she's May. She's really relying on we have the same face.
Right. And they didn't drag it out. I'm glad they didn't drag it out either.
No,
because like they could have like really troped it out where it's like the whole rest of the season Soul doesn't know. And we're all sitting here going, what are you doing?
And that was the thing. I sat there going, this can't be going on for so long because they are not trying to hide that it's her.
And they nipped that in the bud, thankfully.
And I appreciate that, especially considering the whole plan. Anybody who watched it was been like, "Mate, come here a second. What's your plan here?
Yeah.
Like,
what are you trying to accomplish? Because
I don't even think she knew what her plan was, to be perfectly honest.
She rolled pretty low on that wisdom check, as it were.
Yeah. But they did it.
But and I'm also kind of like the way that they killed off the Pip droid. I probably would have felt more bad about it if he was an R2 level presence in the show. Like he's around, but like I felt like his for lack of a better word, his death would have been more BS-y if he was more featured in the episodes.
I disagree only because the last thing Osha said to Pip before like slapping him onto Smiler Ren's back was "I love you."
Yeah.
Like clearly he means something to Osha. Now it didn't I wasn't like crying over Pip.
No.
It wasn't a huge emotional, oh, I'm gonna miss Pip. The emotion to me was Osha's gonna be so upset. If you fucking killed like my cat and I found out weeks later that you or factory reset my cat. You know what I mean? Like, if you wiped my cat's personality and effectively made it a different cat, I would kill you.
Yeah.
I think that's a better way of describing it is they didn't try to make it over dramatic because, they established Pitt meant something to her, but they weren't acting like Pitt meant something to us.
Oh, sure. I mean, if they had treated it with some immense gravitas, like heavy music in the background, lingering shots, I would have been sitting there going, "Come on, guys, you haven't earned this."
Yeah.
But it was, in my opinion, treated with such frivolity, almost. It was almost just like, robots.
And that's, I think, also a good thing.
It's it made it more fucked.
It kind of showed that thing, May is looking at it like it's a droid.
Yeah.
It's just a person.
I'm sure it was an intentional choice. Yes.
Yeah. I just find, I'm just like, the one thing I thought, and it took nothing away from me, it's just I was just thinking it'd be silly. I'm like, why do you have so many bottom halves of a Pip droid? Like, why? Why are there so many bottom halves to this thing and it's laying around the ship?
I was trying to figure out
the bottoms have last longer than the tops.
I like the little key code. This is a double A droid.
I mean, you remember the early days of cell phones? Like that shit was you just like the screen would go, but the rest of it would be fine, or the antenna would pop off. Like this, different parts have different lives. And
it was just kind of fine to me. I'm like, you would have a whole stockpile of like, this broke, we'll just hold on with whatever and then plug it in and go whatever.
Soul has been hoarding them because he misses Osha. He's like, well, if I have this big stack of Pip bottoms, when she comes back, she'll feel more at home.
There you go. But
she'll have so many charging banks.
Yeah. And I also really like how disconnected like Temple Jedi are of things. Like the one Padawan guy who's just kind of like, lady, what is the outer rim?
Yeah, that fucking dweeb. That dweeb ass Jedi was so good. And
numb.
All right, what's
we got 2 minutes left.
Yeah. So real quick, final thoughts for me for this episode of our chat here. I still think the lightsaber whip is dumb.
Yes.
Like, dumb. Yes.
Dumb, but I will give points to trying new things. Dumb, but at least you're trying and not.
But is it a new thing? We've had light whips in the franchise for like 20 years now. They just never put it on live action.
When Elena first saw it, I sat there like when the bug was going, and I was like, oh, here it comes. She's like, what? The dumbest thing ever. What? It's just watch the dumbest thing, and it happens, and she goes, Yeah, that's pretty stupid.
I
It
will
was
say,
stupid, but it works for given the scar ratio and everything on
Yeah.
it. It makes sense to like really make it obvious for the audience. Like, oh,
yeah, like they had to give us that establishing shot.
Yep.
I'll touch on this in the next episode. I do think that establishing shot was intentional. 13-year-old me would have loved the light whip. Nearly 40-year-old me, not a fan.
Yeah.
exactly.
So we are out of time. So what did you think about episode 5 and 6? Let us know in the comments. And until next time, fearless gamers, take care.
Peace.